Morning and good evening. Welcome to another edition of Techno Brew. I'm so excited for this conversation. I have the pleasure of speaking with Naama Manova-Twito, CEO, and Whitney Camp, VP of Sales from MarkeTeam.ai, and we're talking about Agentic AI. And our topic today is Beyond Automation, Navigating the Future of Work with Agentic AI. Naama, Whitney, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
It's such a pleasure, and it's such an honor to have you both, especially considering you're from opposite spectrums of the globe right now. Well, not quite, but pretty close. So, Naama, you're in Israel, and Whitney, you are in Dallas.
Yes.
Yeah. Where in Israel are you right now, Naama?
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv. Nice, beautiful. Well, I hope you have some lovely weather and.
It's hot as hell.
Yeah, it's hot as
Okay,
hell
so
here,
this
too.
is a common theme then. I think this is a recurring motif then that unites us all, right? Just the
Sure.
the mugginess in Toronto and in Dallas and Tel Aviv. Well, welcome both. It's such a pleasure, and Naama, with you've got like 20 years of marketing, business development, and managerial experience. Why don't we just go straight for the question here? What inspired you to co-found MarkeTeam and venture into this world of AI marketing?
So I've been a marketer for 25 years. I came from very old school marketing, so the telecoms industry, RFIs, RFQs, the written word still had value. It was fun. It was intuitive. And remember the days where you only had 4 channels, and as kids we used to show up early to the cinema to be able to watch the Coca-Cola commercials. Those are the good old days of marketing, advertising. But then everything turned digital. And when that happened, you found yourself with 40 new channels that you need to master. And everyone is so different, right? You have the social media and like within that there are different intricacies. And then you have influencer marketing and digital on all its different forms, and everything keeps updating, and budgets didn't grow. But you need more people on your team, or you need more agents or more freelancers. And we're now at this horrible inflection point where more than 50% of budget for marketers is actually going on people or human resource for planning and manual execution versus working media. And even if you're working with the world's greatest marketers, if you have a budget constraint and more than 50% of it is not going to working media, you get a magnificent plan, but that's not helping you grow. And we found that for that mid-market and below business environment, it's a horrible cage, because you need to be able to invest money in good marketing to grow, but you can't afford good marketing until you've achieved that growth. That's kind of the cycle that we were looking to break. And the way to do it is to democratize marketing talent in a way that's affordable for everybody.
Yeah. So was there like a specific moment, or like when you were like kind of working on a project and you had this realization and you said, Agentic AI, that's the future?
It was before we knew to put the word agentic to it. We only had one agent at the time, but that was the vision from the get-go. So we started really early. We started researching already in 2020, 2021. The company was established. It took a while to understand what we actually need to build, because content was never the problem. You have so much content being created, some better, some not so much, but content is the end of the flow. We needed to build a brain, not a mouth. We needed to figure out, how do human marketers really work? What tools do they use? What data points do they consider important for making decisions? And then how do they make decisions? How do they measure if the decisions they made are good or not? How do they pivot along the way? Because it's not even a definitive yes or no question, right? So let's say my goal is to increase sales 15%, and we launch a campaign. As a human, I'm saying, not even a machine. I launched a campaign today. I don't know if I'm going to get to my goal today. I don't know if I'm going to get to my goal in 7 days. So we had to build a machine that's able to strategize, but also collect like incremental progression data to figure out if it's hinting to the right direction. Is it going in the right direction, or does it need to change its initial decision? So there was a lot of planning and developing and inventing new technologies that were not existent at the time, and still some of which are not existent in the global AI arena, just to be able to deal with that. It's a very complex math problem.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose it's the results that you get are only as good as the data that you have to begin with. So ensuring that the data points that you have are true and clean, I suppose, is a huge undertaking before you even consider, I suppose, uh, venturing forward with an agentic AI solution or AI team, I suppose.
For sure. Well, early 22, we went to market. We had a product. I don't want to say it was a good one, but we
Yeah,
had a product. But it was bright and shiny, and enough people used it. So we started getting data. And then we had to manually clean it up and curate it and test it because we didn't have the closing loop capability. So we manually
okay,
said, okay, this was doing better than that. This ad group was doing better than that. And then we cleaned up the data. And then now we have the world's biggest data set when it comes to marketing training data. And our reasoning model, the proprietary reasoning model, is built around marketing, purpose built for marketing. So it
yeah,
uses tools as a marketer. It looks at data points the same way marketers do. It collaborates. So you have multi-humans and multi-agents collaborating together, brainstorming, planning, executing, measuring, optimizing. A lot of it is real-time data, which is crucial for marketing. So there were so many challenges to overcome along the way. And luckily, we have very patient customers to kind of help us through. But now we have a product that within anything between 2 to 6 weeks can already show ROI.
that's amazing. And I mean, you can see the market kind of slowly catching up. I mean, last week, Walmart announcing their four super agents, Sparky for shoppers and an internal agent for employees and what have you, and suppliers. Um, and so, I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and it's really great. It must feel good to know that you're kind of ahead of the curve and you got that sort of that jump in the market. Whitney, your
Yeah.
career expands, a decade in sales across a variety of industries. Like we just talked about, retail, and from digital marketing to healthcare. What I guess initially drew you to sales, and what excites you the most, I guess, about your VP role of sales there at MarkeTeam?
Yeah, so I have a mentor who founded a telco, and he now runs a different telco, and he's been super successful. And when I graduated SMU, I had kind of a liberal arts business degree where I took econ classes, finance classes, accounting, but then like psychology and sociology, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was graduating and kind of picking his brain, like, where do I even start? And he said to me, at the end of the day, any leadership role, you have to know how to sell. So if you can teach yourself how to do sales, you can be a leader in any sort of capacity, and you'll learn as you go. And so that's kind of why I went into sales. And then
Hmm.
here I am, a decade later, I'm still doing it. But I think I just learned that I love it. It's a super exciting time to be working with Naama and the team. You hear about how entrepreneurial, Israeli businesses are, but I'm seeing it firsthand. They are so fast. I mean,
Yeah,
I've worked for large healthcare companies, large
yeah,
marketing companies, small, like very scrappy startups, and I've never seen anything like it, how fast the R&D team works. And
yeah,
so being able to kind of be the right hand here in the US and then solving a true pain point that I see every single day, that, small, medium-sized businesses, just like Nama said, they do not have the budget and they do not have the people, but they need good marketing to grow. And so what we have created is truly something that is solving a real pain point. And so I mean, it's just extremely exciting to see.
yeah. I can imagine, and I guess when it comes to you know um, the cutting edge AI technology at the core of MarkeTeam, was there anything in particular about that attracted you, or kind of were you always leaning towards? this market focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I saw the first time I kind of got a glimpse into what AI was going to do was when I was working for another startup and we were looking into AI SDRs and just how insane it is that agentic AI can go and cold call and call hundreds of people at once. And how I just saw how that was changing the world. And that was kind of my first glimpse into what AI could do. But I mean, I've learned so much in 6 months. It's insane.
I can imagine. And you're both at the forefront of a significant change in how work gets done. And part of what our conversation is going to be kind of addressing maybe some angst or anxiety within the employee base and fear of displacement. And I know we're going to talk about that. I guess Naama, can you elaborate on what fully autonomous means in the context of agentic AI and how agents are operating with autonomy of input, with respect to fetching data and delivering expertise, I suppose.
Of course. So when the word agent is being used a lot, but not everything is an agent, right? So we like to look at it as kind of scale of autonomy. And we have three categories in the AI ecosystem. The first is the assistants, right? So you have like a single prompt, you ask ChatGPT to help you write an email, it gives you a response, and that's kind of the back and forth of it. So that's a very basic layer. And then you have what we call workflows, which is where the majority of the market is. So there's a predetermined workflow that was determined by a human for some repetitive task or some repetitive workflow of decisions. And then the agent can help automate the different stages and can make micro decisions between the different stages. When we look at autonomy, we look at it from a different perspective. So when we say autonomous input, what we do is our agents work completely different. So instead of you, the human, prompting them into action and giving them context and giving them data and training them to do something, we just plug them in. So we plug them into your existing stack. It could be your socials, your website, your analytics, your ad platforms, your CRM. So you could plug in whatever you have. But we also already have external third-party tools integrated within. So they know how to work with data. And for example, if you need to make a decision as a human marketer, you want to know what your competitors are doing. You want to know what's been trending. You want to know what your performance is like today. And you want to do some social listening as well to see what people are talking about, or Google searches, like what's been trending today in terms of the questions people ask Google or ChatGPT. So you want to get all that data in-house, and then you want to have the ability for the agents to make decisions. But it's a ton of data. So you can't build a workflow and say, okay, go fetch this point of data from this platform and then this point of data from that platform, mesh them together, make a decision. You need to have the agents have access to thousands of data points and trust them to pull the right data, make a decision, build a campaign or create a post or build a blog or build your content plan strategy, whatnot. Execute it in the real world. They have to have access to the real world and the ability to measure their own impact. And when they're able to close this loop, and it closes over time, as I said, it's never an immediate gratification. When you're chatting with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, your satisfaction loop is immediate. When you're using IDEs, for example, you have Cursor, Windsurf, and they're writing your app, you have an immediate gratification. Your app is working. It's not the same in marketing. So there isn't an immediate feedback that is provided, and it has to be measured over time. And that's the most complicated thing, because let's say we started execution and 7 days in, it looks good, but on day 15th, something dropped. Something needs to trigger that loop to come back to the agent and say, hey, remember the campaign 14 days ago? It's not working so well. Let's rethink it. So there's a lot of autonomy there where you have to make sure that the agent can access the data, pull the right data points, maybe for today. And by the way, the data points it pulls today are irrelevant in 2 days, right? What's trending today isn't trending tomorrow. So there's so many moving parts. You have to build the ability for the agent to autonomously fetch data, take a solid decision, implement, but also measure the impact on an ongoing basis to see if that was a right decision or not.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Whitney, I guess to that point, when you're engaging with clients, how do you help them visualize what it means to have an AI virtual team that's working basically 24/7, like you said, Nama, like because data gets redundant or irrelevant or obsolete within the 24 hours, right? So, what
Yeah.
are those key benefits that you're highlighting to get them excited about this?
Yeah, I mean, I really do talk about Nama's background and kind of the backstory behind why what we created even exists, knowing that we're solving that true pain point that small, medium-sized businesses, they never have big enough marketing teams to manage everything that needs to be done. And having that first world experience of working on multiple teams and seeing that, I explain that and they always understand exactly what I'm talking about. And then when you explain that we have these essentially junior level marketers that you can just plug into your team and then they can get to work and they're constantly doing the data digging, the scrubbing, there's a feedback loop coming constantly so that and they're building you the content. They're doing all the dirty work so that you can go in as the human in the loop and actually do the fun parts of marketing again or the hard parts of marketing again where you're making like really strategic decisions. It just clicks. It makes sense to people.
I think that Whitney touched upon the biggest thing, and
Yeah,
for more senior marketers, marketing used to be fun. It used to matter. We used to build brands and create relationships and build loyalty. And then with digital, when everything diminished into CPMS and CPCs and CPLs, and it just isn't the same anymore. And machines can essentially do those things better than a human can, but the human can get back to being creative and building relationships and doing things that matter, that move the needle, not just when you throw money at it on Google.
yeah, and I love how you there's a reassurance in what you're both mentioning right now. We're not taking away the strategic aspects of it or the creative aspects of it. It's really the sort of the menial, like this has to get done. We need to get our content out 3 times a day or on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. because that's the peak time for such and such eyeballs. Um, uh,
Well, yes
not
and no. I'll
okay.
be, I'll, I'll be painfully
Thank you.
honest about
Yeah.
this.
All right.
A lot of these mid-market enterprises or smaller businesses, because they lack the resources, they'll often get in touch with an agency that is also small. It doesn't have the capacity to service them at the level that they need. And then you have all these shortcuts on Google and Metas for like auto optimizing or auto targeting or go with PMAX, or and they end up spending money that's not necessarily um, getting the results that they want. But no one can
Mhm.
help because the agency is maxed out as well. So they'll run
Right.
a few evergreen campaigns, maybe do some more branded to lower the cost per acquisition, but eventually the brand gets screwed. And it also gets screwed by the larger platforms because I mean, the larger platforms have a business model. They want you to spend as much as possible within their platforms. They'll never look at your brand and say, hey, you know what? There's some waste here. How about we reduce the ad spend? Let's move it to email marketing. Let's grow your organic. No platform will tell you that, but ours will. So sometimes it will replace a mediocre agency. Sometimes you'll be able to let go of your freelancer you might not have been very excited with from the get-go, but you
Right.
bring the control back home. So you're not just writing your social posts and very dependent on external resources. Now you have a good PPC resource on your team. It just doesn't have a pulse and you gain control back. So even if you're still using your agency, you're not as dependent as you used to be. You don't need to wait for them to save you. You have control, you have an understanding, you have the analytics, but in a way that you can understand. Because most of these smaller businesses, they don't have paid a paid campaigner on their team. So they're very much reliant externally. But now they can and they can afford
Yeah.
one. It's just not human.
Right, and you, I mean, to that point, you also mentioned earlier on that you're focused on democratizing is a very specific word you used,
Yeah,
marketing talent through this autonomous workflow and outputs. Is that what you're referring to?
exactly.
Yeah.
Our whole business model is around hiring an agent. You can hire it for a month. You need to give it human level KPIs. So we always benchmark the current situation. We give you a file, we fill it out together. So on day one, how much are you spending on X? How much time are you wasting on it? What are your current conversions? What's your cost per acquisition? What is your current engagement? Whatever KPIs with whatever agent, each agent has its own KPIs. And then we set them. And we expect our clients after a month, after 2 months, to assess the agent on what they would assess a junior marketer for. And I think that that's where our strongest proof point is, because then you can actually exemplify the ROI in a very simple way. So you're paying less for the hire. It doesn't cost as much as a human does.
Yeah.
It gives you good results because it's on the data all the time. It has no capacity limit. We don't limit you with the amount of posts or the amount of campaigns or the amount of data or queries. You can do whatever you want. And as many people on your team can work alongside the agent. So it's literally hiring a near human resource just at a lower cost. And that's what we're trying to do. So we free up a lot of your budget to working media, and your working media works harder because the agents are working with a lot of data.
Yeah. That it's pretty amazing in terms of the implications, to for small businesses and large businesses, I guess, just to access this like amazing marketing capability, and it sounds pretty effortless. You had
Really, it's kind of out of the box. And whenever we get, the talk about work displacement and job displacement, it's real. But people tend to forget that there's a flip side of a good 30 million small and medium businesses in the US that are really struggling. And this can actually give them a chance to compete. So when a business closes, people lose their jobs. But when a business grows, more people get hired. And it was the same for us. We were using only, it was me and the agents for a really long time. We were just doing that for marketing. But then we grew enough to hire a marketer to manage the team of agents. But that's all we need. We need one human marketer and a team of autonomous agents. But that enabled us only the team of the agents enabled us to make that first leap.
Yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. And I just speaking personally as a small business owner, and it's just myself and my business partner, and we're doing everything, and there's not enough hours in the day and not enough eyes on content, and as creative as I like to think I am, I as a former marketer for 25 years myself, I find myself, frustrated, I guess, with the inability, I guess, to respond as I would like to. So this, I could see the appeal. And you mentioned, it's pretty out of the box, but a lot of organizations are going to have, other agents, doing other, work, within I guess the organization across different departments. So the idea of agentic integration and agent to agent communication. I know you launched something in October, I believe. Was that right? And how do these advancements enhance collaborative capabilities of these agents, and what's the impact that you've seen to the internal teams they work alongside?
So that's actually a great question on the advancement, and we were more lucky than we were smart when we started. So the reason we enabled or built the platform for a collaborative team was just because we wanted to mimic the experience, right? So us marketers, we like to brainstorm together, we like to meet, we like to discuss, and then we kind of split up and do the tasks. And we initially just wanted to mimic that team, the experience for marketing team. So we had multiple small models, each of which is a specialist in a specific intricacy of marketing. So we have one for social media marketing, organic, one for paid, one for content marketing, one for data. And we enabled them to just collaborate with one another and with multiple humans. So it was an experience first thing. But then we discovered two amazing aspects of what we did. The first was we were able to mitigate hallucinations quite a lot. So for example, if the three of us are talking about a topic, marketing and AI and agents, and I start talking about cats, you and Whitney, you're going to bring me back to the conversation. You're not going to let me, hallucinate about cats. And that's what happens with the agent. And the other thing is that we built the collaboration to encourage conflict. So whereas you have the other models that are very agreeable, right? If you
Sure.
persist enough, you'll kind of they'll
Yeah.
agree to anything,
Sure.
which makes them not a very good shrink and not a very good marketer. But when you encourage conflict, that's where some creativity comes about. And agents, and you can experience this right off the bat, they'll tell you the truth. So if they don't have the data source connected, they say, I don't know. You need to connect this data source for me to be able to look at it. Or sometimes they'll disagree with you or with one another. Or they'll say, this has been tried 6 months ago, it didn't work. Let's think of a different direction. And I think that's something that's very interesting from our own team perspective. And now the whole team collaborates with one another. We haven't yet opened it to collaborate with other teams. So I'm assuming that the next stage would be platform to platform collaboration. So for example, our marketing AI team will be able to collaborate with some SDR team of a different company and their virtual sales agents or something. But that's yet to come.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, so just the impact that this has to existing roles. Whitney, I want to ask this question of you. You know, one of the challenges always when you're adopting new technology is understanding how it's going to impact an organization and roles. And so, how do you address concerns from clients about how agents will integrate, reshape, I guess, disrupt current teams?
Yeah.
And are you seeing new roles that are emerging, or is there a shift in focus?
Yeah. I mean, currently, because our bread and butter is small, medium-sized businesses, they don't have the marketing team that they need. So really, this is just kind of superpowering them, and we're not seeing a huge shift in roles moving around. When we're selling into massive enterprises, we're seeing sometimes it's the AI team that is
Right,
contacting us, and they've already kind of made that shift, and you can tell that that's an organization that's already embracing it.
right,
When we come across resistance, it is often when they try to bring in their agency and their agency is fearful of their
right,
job, or it's obvious that this is going to highlight inefficiencies. So if you have a team that's not doing their job, that's when it's very obvious that there's resistance. But I think that in the sales process, I've been pretty lucky that with most small, medium-sized businesses, they don't have the team anyway, and so it's not like a huge hurdle that I'm having to jump just yet. But I do think it is going to be, it's something that we're preparing for because it's going to be more and more.
yeah. And it's amazing that you say that because I was just reading an article this morning about the impact to um, the big four consultancies. And if you're doing like if you're what it might take a 2 week SWOT analysis by junior consultants, a team of junior consultants can be undertaken in minutes using uh, an LLM and to me that's remarkable, and that's where the benefit of what you're offering really stands through, and you can see the impact to these teams. So big fours, they're really scrambling to kind of address and kind of rejig and reshape their business models in terms of what they offer, because what they're offering is being undercut just from a time perspective, and not just a cost perspective. But um, I can definitely see that. And thanks for
And
clarifying.
building and building
Yeah,
their own AI and booking time on my calendar to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah,
yeah,
some of the bigger consultancies are snooping around for sure.
I bet. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Um,
Well, I mean, I guess Nama, you mentioned that Market Team AI, each client, when we had a conversation before this, they get sort of a siloed model, and
yeah.
that third party data like SAMrush isn't used to train the model. Only specific clients, you said. So, can you explain, I guess, the ethical considerations and advantages, I guess, of this approach, particularly with respect to like data privacy and ensuring like a native exclusive solution for each client?
Of course. So essentially, when you integrate the agents into your stack, we get three types of data. We get first and second party data. That's from your integration. So it could be your social media posts, your website content, your ad platform performance data, your analytics data. That's second party data, and that's only yours. And then there's the first party data, right? What you're chatting, ideating with our agents, what you're building together with them. That's first party. That's only yours. And then there's a layer of third-party data from platforms that are integrated into the core of the platform. So they can fetch data from multiple sources, and that serves as competitive benchmarks, or what your competitors are doing, what are their best performing ads, what are some keywords that are trending right now, what are topics, questions that people are asking. So bringing all of that together. The models are siloed, so they will improve for your brand. So if you're a pizzeria using the platform, this wouldn't impact overall pizzerias, but it will improve and learn for your brand. So the agents benchmark the performance from day one moving forward, and they will try to improve over time. So their ideation has to do with multiple sources, first party, second party, and third party data they collect, but the suggestions, the learnings are only impacting your siloed model.
Yeah. And you mentioned also in our conversation prior to this discussion, there's a prescriptive component, I guess, that is offered by MarkeTeam AI, and I guess it suggests the best 5 strategies and topics as one of those features. So, I
Yeah.
guess is there a component where your solution, I guess, needs to engage with human strategic decision making? What kind of, I guess, accountability do the agents have around recommendations?
So when you get the recommendation from the agent, you'll never get a single one. It will give you kind of a few options, but you can trust that these are filtered out of the 300 that it already contemplated and played out, and it realized that these are the best two, one, or three that it's going to suggest to you. When you're getting topics for blogs, when you're getting a strategy, when you're getting social media recommendations or an ad strategy, it's never just the one, but you get a bunch of 2, 3, 5 different ones that you can select, but they're the top. So it already filtered out a lot of the lesser options, and it presented to you, the human, something to make sure that it's aligned with your brand, aligned with timing, or aligned with your priorities. Let's say that you as a brand are preparing for a launch of a new store location, but it's nowhere to be found online. So the agents wouldn't necessarily know that. And that's where you come in. You say, no. This week, let's focus on the launch. Here's some details. But they will also be able to tell you, that's great. Let's do the launch. But there's also one of your competitors are doing this, and that, and it's skyrocketing. We need to address this. Or that's wonderful, but Valentine's is just around the corner. So let's do another side campaign to warm it up. So within a month, we'll be ready to launch it. So that's kind of the type of stuff that the agents will do for you proactively, but you have full judgment. So the latest human level judgment is implemented by an actual human. You go in, you discuss, you optimize, you kind of refine the ideas, and then you have to approve them. And every piece of content coming out of the platform, be it a single blog or a full-fledged content strategy, has to have human approval. Nothing goes live before a human actually sends the actual piece of content live.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. And Whitney, I guess on the point of like educating how, I guess, to use AI or implement, you've been collaborating with universities um, on that very topic, isn't it? So I guess what are some of the most important lessons you're conveying to future professionals about collaborating and leveraging AI in the workplace?
Yeah, we actually have another one tomorrow with University of
No way.
Chicago. So it's been a lot, which it's just been so fun. It's been probably one of my favorite projects that we've taken on since I started. But I would say one of the biggest things that we're communicating is, like you said, Walmart came out with their agents just this week. I mean,
Yeah.
the lightning speed that things are changing is absolutely mind blowing. And it is one of the most exciting times ever to be in a small business that's trying to compete, but you have to constantly be building and growing or else you will never compete. But it is, like Naama said, setting the stage for small, medium-sized businesses to not have to hire 100 people to develop something in order to compete with the big dogs. Now they are actually have access to tools that can help them elevate and grow without having to hire hundreds of people in order to compete. So it's completely changing the workforce, and it's completely changing the way that small businesses are able to compete. It's also changing the way marketing is going to need to be done because people are searching different places now. So the placement for marketing is having to change. So the entire market is going to shift. What we're really trying to do is just equip students with all of that knowledge so that they can enter the workforce knowing how to leverage AI, knowing how to elevate themselves so that they can. I mean, recruiters are already looking for people that know how to leverage AI and know how to use the different platforms and tools out there. So we're trying to help students elevate themselves so that they can enter into the workforce, maybe not into that lower level starting position, because that position AI might be able to do. So how do you elevate yourself to be able to do kind of that next role and be able to use AI to do that?
I
Yeah.
think that what she's kind of minimizing the impact of what she's been doing. Um, because you mentioned it yourself, we were early to this game and we've been implementing our agents into live marketing teams. And when you see lesser confident marketers scared for their jobs, and we see that, and you see that resistance,
Yeah.
when Whitney goes into these universities and she teaches them while they're still in school how to work in a hybrid workforce. Some of your colleagues are agents, some of your colleagues are humans. She enables them to not only have a higher success rate getting hired, because as she said, people are looking for that, but she is very much relieving them from that insecurity
Sure.
for this new job market. And I think that the impact of what she's been able to do is insane. So when you go out into the market after you've worked with agents and you have that experience, you have that confidence, you know what your human role is in this agentic space, and you're not afraid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Nam, I thanks for speaking to the impact of that, because I truly believe that. I think the more we talk about, I guess the elephant in the room, we can kind of understand how to contend with it and sort of work around it or work with it. Um, and your particular experience, ranges from managing IPO projects at VidCom, working with AI-based audio technology at Sensi.ai. Beyond marketing, where do you see agentic AI having the most significant impact on other industries and traditional job functions, right? Because there's optionality, right? So I guess kind of like adding to what Whitney's doing. Then there's I guess let's broaden our focus then a little bit here.
Yeah, so we're very much focused within the marketing ecosystem because it is one of the hardest. Modeling marketing when so many moving parts are part of it is quite a big challenge. You see a lot of advancements in R&D and code, right? So you have a lot of success there, and rightfully so. So for the biggest models are very good at writing code and building apps, or you have Lovable, you have Cursor, you have all these great companies that solve a massive problem. We'll probably see more and more in customer facing, right? So you have customer support, customer success. That was kind of the first to initiate
Yeah,
customer facing. It was at first it was kind of stupid chatbots, but then it got better and better and fully conversational.
yeah,
Sales is getting better. I wouldn't say like very complex strategic sales, but the initial touch points are getting covered pretty well by AI. I think that for every logistics, obviously. AI is a big word. We're talking more like everything is focused around generative AI and agentic AI, but AI has been here for a while, right? So a lot of the processes in manufacturing and things like that are already kind of assisted by AI, or some are even AI native. I think that overall we'll start seeing in any organization that the entry level roles are non-existent anymore. Entry level will be done by AI regardless of the position. And then the layer above, so the junior levels, will be expected to do a lot more. And this isn't a generative AI thing. When I was, a young marketer, I had a team. My team consisted of a Photoshop specialist and a video editor, and I had a content writer. It's been years that we've been expected to be able to handle this alone, right? With other applications, they have to be generative AI, but we were expected to be able to do things on Canva instead of having a Photoshop artist and things like that. But now it's just getting more and more amplified. And I think that the reason people are getting worried is because it's touching upon every single sector, every single industry, every single role. And that's something that nobody expected. So it touches you as I said this once, we're entering a no excuses era, because there's no excuse to not be able to do something. You have a tool, an AI, an assistant, an agent, pretty much for anything. You can build an app, you can design a website, you can write an article. There's no excuses anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was going to be one of my questions to you, is kind of like that, redefining, I guess, division of labor between humans and machines, and what type of skills will be more valuable. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. And you touched on sales, and Whitney, I want, because you as a sales subject matter expert here, how do you see AI affecting sales? And I'm a little bit what's the word? I don't even answer calls where I don't see like a phone number or a name associated
No
with
one does.
a random email, right? So
No
how
one
is
does.
AI really gonna like improve this, like prospecting and closing contracts, and like what do you see the future there, and the role, I guess, of AI in sales?
Cold calling does not work anymore, and cold emailing does not work anymore, and there needs to be something that works. And I think sales is the qualifying leads and the finding the right leads is going to completely shift. And I see a world where every business has an AI buyer and seller, that they are talking with each other. It's going to happen for sure. And there doesn't have to be any more of this cold calling back and forth, or vetting out businesses, or paying, like large businesses will pay an outsized company to go vet out all the different startups to figure out which ones they should actually give a try to. And all of that's going to go away. So we're going to have AI, I think, buyers and sellers that coordinate with each other, but it's going to highlight inferior products, and it's going to highlight inferior marketing. So people are going to have to elevate their businesses in order to compete with that. And the sellers are going to be going through what they figured out from the AI to figure out, is this a brand I actually want to invest in? Or is this someone that's actually qualified to sell to? And then sellers are going to actually just be able to start selling quicker, instead of having to sit on a dialer and call 10 people at once and get through to 1% of people in a day.
Yeah. I was just thinking about Walmart, and their one of their super agents is sort of resides within this digital twin of a superstore, let's say, and so it knows exactly what's happening on every transaction, what the inventory levels are, and it's making decisions and buying and selling instantly. So it's already here. At the enterprise level, right? And so the impact then to the little guy, to the small and medium business, then it could be potentially painful, I guess, if you're not jumping on board. And really, like you said, there's no excuses, right? You know what's coming, you know what's here. Best be prepared for it.
It's a first movers market, I will say that. So the status quo of the big guys is going to be shifting very quickly. So it is a first movers market. And I think that for the I wouldn't say for the very small businesses yet, but for the middle market, if they hop on strong enough, smart enough, and they take the bull by its horns rather than panicking into a situation, they can very quickly grow and become leaders in this new space because resources are being equalized. And it's a very, very interesting opportunity now.
Yeah, 100%. From both of your perspectives, let's assuming like we know that organizations need to integrate this. So, what are the biggest challenges that companies face then in successfully integrating agentic AI solutions into their existing workflows and their culture? This culture can't be undersold. So, what's the biggest opportunity for those to embrace it early?
The biggest opportunity is very clear. You jump on early, essentially what I suggest to companies is don't try to do everything at once. Pick the one area in your company that's bleeding the most. It could be bleeding time, bleeding money. There is an AI for it. Pick an AI, give it a 3-month cap, test it out. If it's not the right one, you can find another. But essentially, you need to jump on this. The biggest hurdle, though, will be the culture. And you mentioned that very smartly, because it doesn't matter. You could be the CEO of the biggest company, the greatest company, the most advanced company. If you do not have buy-in from the most junior people on your team, no AI will be properly implemented into your organizations because they're the ones that needs to use it. They're the ones that are going to teach it. So what we came through is finding a model where organizations actually reward the most junior employees on the team with job security and a monetary reward saying, you know what, if this implementation is done well and KPIs are met, not only will you keep your job and you don't have to worry about this, but you'll also be rewarded. And when you incentivize them to do that, you'll get an amazing implementation. Whereas if you have a CEO saying, you know what, we're going to cut down on resources and we're going to implement this solution, and by next year we want less humans. That's not working. That will never work. So culture as a big thing, a big aspect to do here. We were at the Future of Work conference in New York recently, and we were speaking about exactly that. So and we were with Rashad Tabakawala on stage, and he said the best sentence. He said, "This is the best of times and the worst of times to be an HR manager, because you are going to become the most important person within an organization for the next 2 years. But if you fail, it's on you." So you have to be very open, understand what's going on, be aligned with all the different agentic solutions, be able to vet them quickly, implement them quickly, and build a culture around it quickly.
Yeah. I love the sampling of the Charles Dickens there from the Taylor.
He also compared it to Pulp Fiction and the injection scene. That was probably my favorite.
That's funny. Well-read people are my favorite people. Bob had a question, actually. Is there a way to help buyers of services and goods to evaluate maybe AI experimentation tools with these products that they have an AI buyer agent filter?
Hey, Bob, how are you? I'm not sure. So you're referring to Whitney's remark about you having a sell side and a buy side, but none of which are humans. I think that marketplace isn't yet established, but I'm assuming that it will be, and there will be. That's kind of what we have an open letter to LinkedIn that we will be publishing soon. Essentially asking the larger platforms to facilitate some sort of a vetting of AI platforms, AI agents. So you can tell the difference between the ones that work, the ones that have been vetted, the ones that have the credentials or whatnot, and allow, small businesses, democratize access to that, for example. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think that the platforms are behind. So neither LinkedIn, Indeed, or Glassdoor are in a position to say, hey, on our platform, here's where you hire humans, here's where you're hiring non-humans.
Yeah.
If they wrap their head around that, that's going to be a massive breakthrough.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Bob. And you know what? Speaking of like solutions not being quite there yet. You mentioned in a prior conversation that because I was talking about the cost of developing new applications and the speed to market, and just using AI tools. And you mentioned, for example, vibe coding. It's great for producing solid, minimum viable products, but it's not there yet for production. So, what do you see as the necessary next step, and what are the challenges in bringing like this advanced AI capability to market?
So I think that essentially, again, referring to the same sentence, it's also the best of times and worst of times to be an entrepreneur, because
Yeah.
the pace of change is so massive. And what you thought was innovative 6 months ago isn't innovative anymore, and that's scary as an entrepreneur. On the other hand, the way for you to build something, you're not dependent on R&D teams, or you're not, at least for the MVP stage of it, right? So you can build your idea into a product within a couple of weeks, and then get some first early adopters, check it if there's initial signs of product market fit, and go raise
Yeah.
an investment or bootstrap it, whatever you want. The thing is that we are now at that place where we need to find the platforms or the companies who built on top of the AI platforms and reach the $1 billion. So we already know the unicorns within the AI space. Now we need to get to the place where you have the companies that built on top of the AI platforms and became unicorns. I think that's where true ROI or true value from this investment will start showing off. Luckily for us, this is what for MarkeTeam, this is what guides us. So measuring ROI and being able to show tangible results within a few weeks, I think that's where the world should start looking into, because the fact that I can make my own music and create my own videos is wonderful. But now we need to show the proof in the pudding that it actually saved me money, saved me time, or made me money. Otherwise, I mean, it's just play.
Yeah, absolutely. And Whitney, I guess, what's one piece of advice you would offer to business leaders who are still hesitant about adopting AI solutions?
Yeah, you just need to start small. You just need to start researching. It's here, right? And so you just have to figure out a way to embrace it. You have to figure out a way to, like Nama nailed it on the head, to reward people for embracing it. Because when you have a workforce that's afraid of it, it's just never going to be adopted. And then you're never going to elevate yourself. And those who adopt it are going to win. So you just need to start small and start researching.
Awesome. And I guess Whitney, we've gone through pretty much all the questions that I wanted to ask you, and so we touched on the future of work, not just in marketing, but across a number of different professional domains. But where do you see this headed in the next 5-10 years?
I feel like Nama should answer that question as to where this business is headed in the next 5 to 10 years.
The business
All right.
or the world? So the
Or the
world,
world, yeah.
The
nobody
world, I think,
knows.
yeah.
I think that anything beyond 2 years from now is, that's a fool's prophecy. Obviously, the pace of change is insane. I mean, things
It
that we
is.
thought wouldn't happen before 2029, 2030 are happening now. And I think that as this evolves, generally, the artificial intelligence, and this has been like this for every revolution. So human invents technology, and then technology forces the humans to reinvent themselves. And I think that that's where we're going to be. I think humans will work less, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they'll do more qualitative work, and I think that the professions least at risk are the ones that still require quite a lot of manual labor. And I think that that's perhaps why this revolution is a bit scarier than the other ones, because it touches upon us managers and us office workers, things that other revolutions didn't quite. So we're all going to have to reinvent ourselves. We're all going to have to understand very clearly what the value of us humans bring into a specific role. And this could be in our personal lives or the professional lives. I mean, I'm more worried about when humans start falling in love with agents or bots.
It's already happening.
That's a reality for me, more so than trying to help small businesses compete in a very crowded space. It's like any technology. It could be used for good, it could be used for evil, and I really hope that human judgment will play a role here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we resisted touching on, and I'm ruining it now, but we resisted touching on, the debate about, subjective experience of AI, and super AI. So good on us for that. I guess, recognizing that we've got 5 minutes left here, I guess, why don't we start with you, Whitney? What's the single most important message you want our audience to take away from today about agentic AI and I guess the transformative impact on the workplace?
Yeah, I just think it's important to know that it's going to completely change the workplace, and it's going to be another revolution, just like the Industrial Revolution, just like when digital happened, just when econ happened, and it completely shifted the way people work and the way people buy. It's happening, so people need to figure out how to embrace it and try to look ahead. And I do genuinely believe, I know that jobs will be replaced, but I do genuinely believe a lot more jobs are going to be created, and a lot more small businesses are going to be able to elevate themselves and grow. And it's just something that people are going to need to have to wrap their head around and not be afraid of.
Naama?
Yep. Educate your kids.
Yeah.
When my youngest was a year and a half, she already had the competence to skip the YouTube ads. And people used to look at me like, why are you letting your kids be on their screens for so long? And I do understand the criticism there. I'm not a super mom, but that's their fault. They grow up to work on screens, computers, TVs, small screens, doesn't matter. The fact that it's still in the school system, using ChatGPT is considered cheating, that's foolish. Let them use the tools that will enable them to implement superior thinking. So if something can be done, I mean, when I was a kid, we used to search in like physical encyclopedias. Remember those days? There are skills you don't need anymore. And they're not encouraging thinking. They should better encourage judgment. I think that judgment and logical thinking and understanding of situations and empathy, those are skills that the world needs to be teaching our kids, because in a machine-oriented world, a human touch will be very, very much necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob just mentioned something here. He asked that very question. Do you think AI can communicate kindness at some point? Is that the next Turing test? So.
I think so. I think that it's getting better and better at mimicking human behavior, but there is a level that will always remain the human's capacity. And I think that's a good thing. We shouldn't strive for more than that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me. It's been such a great conversation. I'm honored that you would join me from Tel Aviv and from Dallas on my humble show, and I'm glad that we could touch on a number of topics. Is there anything that we missed, you think, that you wanted to state, or do you think we've covered as much as we can within 58 minutes or whatever?
I think it was a wonderful discussion. I just want to say that, I mean, it's available for everybody. This is the first time that such an advanced technology is literally at the fingertips of anyone. Hop on Claude, ChatGPT, RPlot, doesn't matter. Just test it out. You don't need prior education. You don't need to have, any skills. Just chat with the bot, and you'll figure out how easy it is.
Yeah. And on that note, then, what's the best way for organizations, particularly SMB, mid-market organizations, to reach out to you for guidance on how to implement these solutions?
Yeah, they can always go to our website. You can, if you book a demo, you meet with me. So that's an easy way to meet. But I'll give you my email to share after this. They're Whitney@MarkeTeam.ai.
There we go. Yeah, and we've got yours as well, Naama.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, it was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that we can have another conversation in the future. You know,
Maybe we'll be with our avatars.
Okay.
That's a goal.
Wouldn't that be
That's a
something?
goal.
Actually, I think that would be a ton of fun.
For
I'm
sure.
up for that. Yeah.
They can give us all the data.
That would be amazing, I think. Wow, that would blow my mind. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day wherever you are. I hope the weather is agreeable. I hope it's better than here. Anyways, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.